Well, we realized the commonalities between successful people is they all have a little piece of grit. So what to you does grit mean?
The desire to be relentless. You're either 100% in or you're not. You don't go and relax before the work gets done. I know that I'm destined and I have this ability, I have these God-given gifts, these talents, and I have a purpose here on this earth. I'm going to max out my characteristics, my talents, my skills. I'm gonna max out my character in this life.
We just did a YouTube video with our iPhones, like all of us, like what it was like an iPhone 14 to an iPhone 16.
Nice.
We put this entire video together and it looked insane. And
With the Osmo or the iPhone?
No,
just the iPhone.
Just the iPhone.
Yeah.
And it was like, once I started to see that, I was like, where is this going? Like, do you think we're going to get to the point where like,
you don't need the fancy?
You don't need this.
Yeah.
Facts. No, I feel you. I think it could be. Honestly, like the average eye can't even tell the difference. You know what I mean? Between like an iPhone and like cameras like these. It's only really the professionals or the people who are really doing content that are able to like pick up on it. What's more important is the actual like content itself, I feel like.
Facts.
Like what is that actually making the viewer feel? What are you actually showing up as, right? What are you entertaining? Are you motivating, right? Whatnot. But this right here, bro, is my favorite. It's like, it shoots better than the iPhone in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like in the fact you could do face tracking, selfie mode. Like it's just amazing. The stabilization on that thing is ridiculous.
Did you find like with building your business that like, I find ourselves doing this all the time where we think something is so unbelievably important. For instance, like if you have the FX30 versus the FX3 or the FX6 or whatever the progression might be, we think that's unbelievably important. But then the people we work with, the people that we service, they could give a rat's ass. Like they don't care. Like it's all the same kind of product. What do you think is the things that truly differentiate somebody in the market?
When you say in the market, do you mean in
video business, content creation, that type of thing?
It's a great point that you make. Like you think that one side of your business is going to like, or one part or one element of this big puzzle is like so important. And you realize that it may actually not be that important. It's kind of like, I like to talk about like the 80-20 rule, right? I think it's so important, that rule. It's like 80% of the work, or no, I'm sorry, 20% of the work is really gonna yield like 80% of the actual importantness of it, versus like that last 20 is really just, fine tuning and whatnot. It's really not much, right? It comes down to, do you want to be efficient or do you want to be, unique or very detailed, crafted, right? But I feel like in the industry, what comes down to it is quality and results. Like I've noticed in my video business, I used to charge $4,000 or $5,000 a month for content, but the churn rate was so high. Those clients were with me for 3 months, did not re-sign.
Yeah.
And that's because you're charging $5,000 a month, that's $60K a year, there's got to be a return on investment on that type of money.
Yeah.
For anybody to spend that, it's got to be worth it. And a lot of people don't realize that the ROI on branding and marketing is
it's a long process.
It's a long-term process. You can't really define it the way you can with ads, right? It's like, at the end of the day, every brand needs to be credible. They need to be seen as the authority in their industry, and they need visibility around the clock. And so you can't really produce good content and say, okay, this yielded this because of this one piece of content, right? Where it's like, no, it's like over the course of years when you're building that credibility, that authority, and that visibility, now you're starting to really expand your brand, right? And generate awareness. So it's really, I think the quality, you've got to look good, right? Like, and it can't be AI. Like all this AI stuff looks absolutely terrible. When I see somebody using AI, I'm just like, makes me want to throw up, honestly. Like the AI captions, the hormone, like that shit is like last year, bro. Like you need to get rid of that.
You're
like,
talking about like the captions app and that type of stuff.
Cheap. It makes you look like that is like me seeing someone wearing like a fake Gucci outfit, like in Miami.
Facts.
Like that's how I perceive that as. Like it's just so like the effort is like this, and it reflects. You can just tell. It looks like, how you supposed to be a high level brand and you're over here got AI captions on your videos. Like, that's terrible.
I think it's interesting what you said too about like the price of the packages.
Yeah.
Because like we found that struggle as well, where it's like, do you want to go for less people, higher price points on these packages, or do you want to go for quantity on a less price point package? And what I'm realizing is like, if someone's paying you $5,000 a month, that's a full-time position.
Facts.
That's a marketing position. So it's like what I find is you end up always doing way more than the deliverables that you were supposed to sign on for, because they're like, I'm paying you $5,000 a month. You better fucking work for me. You know what I'm saying? So now they're asking you to do everything. So like you signed a deal to run your podcast, do your social media, and now you're doing their ads. Now you're doing everything else because they're paying you so much money. They're like, I'm not going to go hire somebody else. I'm paying you $5,000 fucking dollars. Do this all for me. Right? As opposed to if you bring that price point down and you stick to your deliverables and kind of create the separation there. Like, what do you think? You think the lower is the way to go? Is that what you're finding?
Honestly, I think what's important is how you frame it.
Yeah.
That's important. So it's really up to you whether you want to charge those $5,000, $6,000 packages where you're not only doing the content, but you're doing the back end, the go high level, the automations, the funnels, right? The lead magnets, right? And you're actually creating that content marketing plan where it's like, hey, our goal is to convert, where we're going to create content to generate awareness. We're going to put call to actions to lead them to these funnels that we're going to build you, and landing pages we're going to build you so that that stranger can ultimately go through the funnel and become a client, right? So that's that $5,000 to $6,000 package, right? Is the whole thing. And then on top of that, the content, right? The scripting, filming, editing, maybe even posting, and a little bit of social media management. What I'm doing now is then there's the other side where it's like a little bit less expensive, more affordable, where it's like, hey, this is really just to get you that credibility, authority, and visibility. We're not selling ROI, right? Because the ROI is not something that's predictable, but more so we're getting eyeballs on your brand so that, hey, the better your content, and this is what I call the golden formula. The better your content is, the more eyeballs, the more reach you get. I'm sorry. This is what I call the golden formula, right? The better your content is, the more reach you get. The more reach you get, the more eyeballs you get. The more eyeballs you get, the more opportunities you get. And the more opportunities you get, the more sales you get, right?
Facts.
Pretty simple.
Facts.
Because as you produce better content, these algorithms are going to push it. And the more visible you are on multiple platforms, again, the more opportunities, more eyeballs, more sales you're going to get. And so that's where I'm at now, where it's like, hey, I stepped back from that 5-6K range, and I'm more so pitching, 8K to 10K for 3 months. I really only pitched, hey, a client can either work with me for 12 weeks or for 12 months, depending on where that client is financially. If I feel like they're gonna flinch at the 10K mark, I'll pitch them at 8K, right? If I feel like they got it, I'm easily going for 10K for 3 months. So a little bit, it's like $3,300 a month, right? And then I always have them have the ability to roll into the 12 months, right? For 30K or 35K, depending on, again, where that client is. And a lot of people, I've noticed that since I've made that switch, I'll get the sale right there on the call. And a big problem with me is that, I'll think about it. It's like, no, give me your money. I know what I'm doing. I got it. You don't need to think about it. And then I hit them with, okay, you want to think about it? I'll be honest with you, and this is a pro tip for my people in the video business who struggle with sales and struggle with that objection. I need to think about it. It's one of the most frustrating objections that I ever got, especially when I didn't know how to deal with it. What I say now is, and I learned this from somebody online on social media, where it's like, hey, typically when somebody says that, it's one of three things. Number one, you don't trust that this process is actually going to help you. Right? You don't believe that this process is going to get you to your desired outcome. Number two, you don't trust me. Like, you don't feel like I'm the right guy to work with, or maybe you don't even like me. And number three, it's just financially not making sense, right? Money's an issue and you can't afford it.
Right.
So then I always ask them, out of those three, like, which one do you think more defines where you're at? And then that way I can really get to understand why it is that this person is talking about, let me think about it. Because if you truly needed to think about it, the best time to think about it is with me, the expert on the call, right? Ask me questions. What are you're gonna go and scratch your head and think, like, no, right? Exactly. Like, ask me any questions that you have. Let me give you all the information that you need. Tell me, what is it that you feel like you really need to think about, right? And so, yeah, to answer your question, I know that was a long-winded answer, but again, it's just now framing it in the sense that, hey, this content is kind of like your top of funnel. This is where you're going to be generating awareness for that stranger to eventually become a client. But I'm really just focusing on the content aspect. Whereas, you know, that 5-6K mark, where I used to be was like everything. I even like plugged in an appointment setter into their business, you know,
Oh, wow.
sending DMs. Yeah. And it was a lot, bro. I was like, bro, I had one client and I was like pulling my hair. I was like, no way I'm going to scale to 50K a month doing this.
Like your content is sick. Like
Appreciate that,
your top of funnel is sweet. Like that's where I found you. I found one of your videos. I was like, the story was told super well. The emotions were hit, all that type of stuff. Is organic in your mind the best way to generate leads for your business, specifically here in Miami? Like how we live in Naples, the video business market is completely different ball game. Like you're not really, not that you're not competing with people, but you're competing with people that can't compete with you. They can't move as efficiently. They don't understand the game as well, all that type of stuff. Or they overinvest into equipment when people really want like relationship. They want like high quality content. Like they want content that performs. In your mind, how have you been able to stand out in a market like Miami?
Yeah, absolutely. Really great question. So there's two parts of that question. Number one, what's the best way of getting leads and how do you stand out in a market like Miami? The best way to get leads, especially in a place here in Miami, is to network in person. Get out there, show your face, and meet people. And when you meet them, you need to leave a lasting impression, right? Have meaningful conversations. And most importantly, at the end of that conversation, you grab their Instagram, right? You grab their Instagram because then what's going to happen is that Instagram is going to say, okay, these two followed each other. They're now friends. So we're going to feed each other. We're going to feed content from each other's profiles. Anytime you follow someone, I don't know if you realize this, but almost immediately, once you refresh that feed or open up Instagram, you'll see their post right there. Right. And that's on purpose. And so, you know, that's part one, is to meet people, grab their Instagram. Part two is to build that personal brand and create organic content. Because when you're posting every single day, especially if you're posting valuable content that's talking about the pain points of your audience and you're providing solutions to those pain points, now you're connecting with so many people who have those pain points and you're showing up every single day reminding them of who you are and the value that you provide. That is the best way to generate leads, in my opinion. And it's the only way that I've done it. And because of that, I used to send out 50 DMs a day, bro, searching up hashtag Miami. I used to get on the phone. Hey, what's up? My name's Aiden. I just moved to Miami. I'm a videographer. I would love to help you with your business. Every day I would rip those. Now, bro, like I can sit on my ass and business will come to me all day long.
Yeah.
Like all month long, and I'll be able to support myself. Obviously that's not the goal. You know, we want more all the time, but hands down, that is the best way to get leads. In my opinion, just, you know, getting out there, showing your face, and then just showcasing your work, right? Like showing the value that you have, building your personal brand so that after you make those connections, those people are actually reminded of who you are, right? And like I get inbound leads from that all the time just because I'm showing up. Art Basel was like one of the busiest weeks. Like that 1 week, I made like 15K over just that 1 week in Art Basel, just because like people were like, yo, you know what's crazy? Like I had somebody tell me this, and this is why it's so important to build a personal brand. During Art Basel, I had somebody come up to me like, yo, you know, I was in need of a videographer, and then boom, you popped up right there on my Instagram feed. Just like that, I was able to close a deal, right? Over $1,000 for that one person. So it's like people underestimate the power of social media, and like they think that, oh, like there's so many people already doing it. What's one more person doing it? It's like, no, like your personal brand is you. Like you are one of one. It doesn't matter how many people are doing it. Like the opportunities that it's going to attract for you is the reason why you should be doing it. Not, you know, for any other reason than that.
I think there's also something with that as well. Your personal brand, I have always struggled with the identity aspect of creating content and how to create content that not only attracts your desired buyer, but I also struggle with, I know what it's like to build brands for people. And I know how in a certain aspect, once you create an expectation for your audience of this is who you are, it's really hard to pivot off that. It's really hard to add kind of layers to your brand. so what we've kind of focused on our side with organic is integrating personality, because in one way or another, video businesses, especially as AI keeps doing what it's doing, especially as cameras get easier, like the barrier to entry is going to continue to go down.
Oh yeah.
Just day after day after day. And right now, content being the asset that it is, like that's what I tell all the clients that I work with. It's like the money that you're putting into this, no matter if it's $5,000, $3,000, whatever, think about it like a piggy bank. Like you're just putting, and so the people that we talk to that can afford that $5,000-$6,000 price tag,
Yeah.
I just go, usually they have some, they have affluent behaviors and they have affluent thoughts. And I go, okay, when you have your financial advisor, I need you to look at me in the same way. You're coming here with your money, which again, very valuable. But at the end of the day, cash for these people is like kind of trash. They're like, I don't really want to keep cash going. Like, I don't want to keep cash on hand.
Yeah.
So I'll just throw, I'll throw money into content. Like you're saying, it's like a piggy bank over time. You know what I mean? It's going to continue to do that.
Yeah. All
that being said, the ability to stand out with your personality through your content, how do you, what is the most effective way? Because you're not just exclusively posting video business content. You're posting content with you working out, like content of you traveling, like you're showcasing your storytelling skills, telling a story about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you look at in terms of how do you tell your own story in a way that stands out with your personal brand content?
Yeah, great question. So honestly, it's not, and this might sound weird, it's not as deep as that. I don't sit down and say, how can I tell my story? I kind of just document it. I find a trending audio that I like, and I put my B-roll over it. And it's like, yo, this actually makes sense. This is who I am.
Yeah.
And like that's what it is. So step one, it's like, okay, first I need to train the algorithm to show me things that I actually like. My algorithm used to be full of nonsense, toxicity, woman, like BS. And I had to like realize that, yo, this is actually like the worst poison in the entire world. Like my phone is like the biggest distraction and it's holding me back. And so I started just like going and searching up hashtag videography, hashtag content, hashtag, whatever, any profile that I came across that had good content, I would just like doom scroll on them, like, engage. Eventually now my algorithm is full of like Andy Elliott, Eric Thomas, Patrick Bet-David, right? Like motivational quotes, Andy Frisella, where it's like, I'm constantly saving things to a folder that I can always come back to and pull that audio, put my clips that I have, stored in my iPhone on top of those audios, and it reflects who I am. I just got to match up the words with the activities, right? It's like, and that's really the second part is creating a master B-roll folder. It's so important. Everybody should have a master B-roll folder. Document, like every day you should be adding like 10 clips to this master B-roll folder from, what you're doing when you wake up, whether that's reading, get a tripod, get a DJI Osmo, set it up, show yourself reading a book, show yourself brushing your teeth, show yourself working out, eating food, networking, podcasting, like document at least like 5 to 10 times a day and add to that folder. Just keep adding it. Multiple different outfits, days, locations, angles, right? And that way you just have a huge content bucket and you can consistently just recycle that content and put that content again with those audios that you find on Instagram. And that's it. That's how you tell your story. That's how you document. And then people are like, because I do content and I produce that for myself, it's like almost like my portfolio. Not only am I showing people who I am, but it's like people are like, yo, I want that. Like, that's fire. Like, I want to be perceived as like, I'm doing all this already. Why not document it and make more money so that people can like trust me more? People can like me more. Because at the end of the day, this social media game is really like, how can you get people to like you? How can you get people to trust you? How can you get people to know you? And if you can get people to know, like, and trust you, you can get people to buy from you, right? And then you don't have to work a 9 to 5. You don't have to work. You don't have to live a life that you don't like. That's why content is so important, because like it's literally the key. One of the keys to unlocking a life that you could have always dreamed of working anywhere you want, of traveling the world, and having an online business, bro. It's like, why would you want to be stuck at one position in one location, doing one thing when you can have an online business and just show people who you are and make money from it?
I'm curious, where is content going in your mind? Like, I think it's so cool two things. I think it's really cool to be in the position that we're in because we are on the bleeding edge of where culture's at, like where are things moving. Like the game of being a video business like owner is so cool because like you feel like, first of all, you get to see human psychology from a whole different perspective, but also you get to see innovation on the ground floor. Like you get to see shit as it comes out. Where do you see content moving going in 2025 all the way to like cast out like a 5-year vision for me?
Yeah. So first and foremost, AI will never replace any video business owner. I don't think.
Facts.
I don't think it'll ever replace anybody working in the video business. It can streamline, and I recommend using AI to help you, but I don't think it will ever replace it. So
I agree.
That chat needs to stop. It's nonsense. It just can't mimic the human touch, bro. And it can't. I don't think it will.
Do you think that's like a storytelling thing? Like you need.
I think it's a passion thing too. It's a creativity and a passion thing.
Yeah, I think it can do a little bit of storytelling, but like as of right now, where AI is at, like you can tell it's AI. If you're utilizing AI, you can tell it's AI. When somebody writes a caption, I'm like, bro, that's not you writing. You know, it's just like so like what?
Yeah.
Like, bro, you didn't even graduate college. You over here all of a sudden writing like crazy captions, like you know what I mean? It's just nonsense. And it's like we live in a world now where it's like so fake. Everything is so fake that it's like anything authentic is like it's like a fresh right there. You know, and the authenticity is really what gets people going because that's what's unique. That's what's like people want. And so that's why I say that. But I think content right now, like you nailed it on the head with like we're at the forefront of like, you know, with where the world is at and how important social media is. It's amazing to be able to provide a service that everybody needs right now. If they're not taking advantage of it, they're gonna get left behind. It's just the case, right? And so where I see content going is it's always gonna have evolutions and phases, right? Like we had during COVID, it was the Hormozy phase, right? With the block captions, which to me is just so corny now. But when it first came out, it was like, oh, this is fire.
It's popping.
Boom.
Yeah.
Then we had like the Ali Abdul phase, or I think I said his name.
Yeah. Ali Abdal.
Yeah, Ali Abdal. So many different styles. Now it's like people are just posting horizontal, right? With the black bars at the top. And it's just ways to stick out. That's all it is, right? Now there's also like the rounded corners.
Yeah, like
right?
the box.
Yeah, the box, right? And it's just, I think it's always gonna be that. A constant change in trend. People are gonna, you know, the pioneers of that trend are gonna run with it. It's gonna have its momentum. It's gonna start dying out. A new trend is gonna come out. And then it's just gonna keep repeating where people are pioneering these trends. Everyone's gonna ride them. You're gonna see a lot of that style of content. And then it's going to die out. And that's also super important for video businesses to know because you have to be ahead of those trends. You have to be able to see, okay, what's popping off, what's not popping off, what are people, because, you know, and you mentioned the human psychology is so interesting. Like you can literally like just by the type of font, the colors and like the scene, like in that first second, bro, is going to determine whether or not I'm watching that video or not. Right. And so it's crazy how the human brain works. And that's why it's so important to nail down that process of how do we actually get the viewer to stay on this piece of content, right? How do we get them to stop the scroll and actually pay attention to what's going on in this piece of content? And that's, again, where people are going to stick out from, right?
I think you have to take creative, like in terms of, I think people underestimate how easy it is to create a trend in this market. Like, because what most video businesses, and this is my opinion on why I think bring as much competition to the table as possible. I think it's still going to come down to who's willing to do what others won't.
Yeah.
And especially when you're talking about like trends and being on top of it, it is a grind. It is a consistency that most people get nauseous by the thought of.
Fact.
And like me and Mike used to talk about this. It's like working in our business, we tell people is like, you got to step up to the plate and you got to be willing to run at a 12 speed on a treadmill.
Oh yeah.
Longer than anybody else to really be on it. And then also you have to be courageous enough to take something and kind of steal like an artist in a sense and take something that's working and throw your own creative spin on it and not get caught up in the complacency of like, this worked a year ago, it'll work today.
Oh yeah.
So then how do you innovate? Like, how do you think through innovating on different topics and ideas? Cause I mean, your stuff is unique. Like you kind of, I think you put your own unique spin on it. And how do you do that?
Yeah, I appreciate that, bro. So the way that I like to innovate and create my own unique spin is really, like you nailed it on the head with how you said, just stealing like an artist, bro. There's no point in reinventing the wheel at all. And it's one of the first things that I mention on calls with my clients as soon as they get onboarded. It's like, hey, you know, one of the first things we do is get to understand those content inspiration accounts that they have. Because if they're happy with their content, they're going to keep on paying me to do their content, right? If they're happy with the results, you know, they're going to keep paying me to do their content. And so that's what we focus on, is how do we actually get the client to be extremely happy with the content that they have? And that comes from understanding how they want to be perceived. And so the innovation just really comes from priming your algorithm, right? What are you being exposed to when you open up the Instagram app? It's either your friend or your enemy. You're either getting inspiration constantly, or you're getting drawn into a lustful world or a sinful world where your energy is being drained, right? And you know, next thing you know, you look up and an hour has gone by because you've been scrolling on Reels doing nothing. And like that adds up, right? Like compare me, where I'm constantly adding at least 3 to 5 different pieces of inspiration to a folder that I can always go back on. And when I'm in a creative space, I can say, boom, these are the 3 videos I want to create today, or these are the 5 videos I want to create today, versus someone who's doing the complete opposite, opening up their phone on Instagram and they're doom scrolling on random bullshit that just doesn't make sense, right? You know, and that's draining their time. In a year from now, I'm going to be so much farther ahead than that person, right? Just because of those small actions, just because of that Instagram that I've primed. So innovation just really comes down to, what are you consuming? What do you create? What are you consuming? What are you putting into your ear? What are you watching? What are you viewing? And like, don't just view it, like save it, come back to it, right?
Dissect it.
Dissect
we literally last night, or over the last 2 days at night, we watched the new Aaron Rodgers documentary. And we are literally watching it and calling out, okay, I think they're going to cut to this now. Like, I think they're going to do X, Y, and Z. How did they do that? What's the tracking that you'd have to put in there? Like, that's the type of consumption that I think drives, like, I think it drives human creativity. And like, so many people are just unconsciously consuming. Yeah,
to stay on that point, man, it's like, ever since a kid, I would watch a movie and wonder, like, my eye would go farther than like the average eye. My thoughts would go farther. Like, how did they create this shot? Like, yo, that's crazy. This foreshadowing was just done like amazingly, right? And so like, it really, like you said, it comes down to the passion of it. Like, how badly do you actually, how much do you actually enjoy what it is that you do, right? And that's so crucial. Another thing that I want to say is, like, you know, you're absolutely right. People will mindlessly consume, where it's like, when you come at the perspective where, hey, we're actually doing your content and we're coming with a strategy, you need to be able to consume and dissect it properly. You need to be able to go on somebody's profile who's doing it successfully, who's generating tons of views, pick out their most 10 viral videos and be able to say why those videos went viral, right? And so that's another big part of innovation is again, don't reinvent the wheel. Go to the profiles that are dominating in a specific industry. Look at their top 10 pieces of work in terms of engagement and views, and analyze it. Why did it go viral, right? What elements did it have? What was that hook looking like? What was that call to action looking like, right? What did the caption look like? Like, all of it.
Yeah. And on the Rodgers doc, like, it's like 5 hours. It's 3 episodes, it's 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
It's so long.
On Netflix?
Yeah. But they do such a good job at like keeping you, like, you're locked in the whole time. Like, you're captivated the whole time. It's going from 2011 to 2018 to football to,
okay.
So it's like there's multiple storylines going on at the same time in one doc. So like, when you're making these videos, like, what are you looking for? Like, what separates a video that you're just going to jump off in 10 seconds and something that's going to keep you the whole way? Like, what characteristics to tell the story to keep someone locked in?
Absolutely. I think it's a few elements. It's number one, right away, What am I looking at? The visuals.
Yeah.
If you're filming on a crappy iPhone 12, immediately I'm off. Right? Even if like the colors don't look like what catches my eye is like the professional color grade, like the professional, like probably shot in S-Log, you know, color graded and like really put together well. Anything else kind of just like, right? Like I really like the cinematic look. That's personally what catches my eye because I have an appreciation for the art. And so not everyone is like that. Some people are the complete opposite. They don't want to see the polished, touched up. They want to see the iPhone, the guy with the selfie.
Yeah,
that does well as well.
Yeah.
Because it's more relatable. But it makes sense because they're not
You
in
got
the
to be a G to create that content, though. That's what people don't realize. You can't be average popping up your iPhone and being like, "This is my story." It's like, nah, that's just not gonna fly.
Yeah, it comes with personal development, bro.
Yeah.
You gotta get your reps in life, right? Like what like you can't. You're 100% right. You got to get your reps up. You got to know what you're doing in business and life, and you got to look presentable for sure. But yeah, it's the visuals, it's the audio. If your audio is crap, I'm hearing staticky, I'm hearing people talk in the background. It's just not pleasing. I don't want to stay on your video. It's the storytelling and the hook, right? That's really like I would say the 4 elements that are needed in order to really capture and retain somebody's attention. Right. And when I say like the storytelling and the hook is like, I want to know what I'm watching before I invest. Cause bro, like a lot of people don't understand this, but like our time is our most valuable asset. Right. And this blows over a lot of people's mind. They think that like when I create this content that people deserve to watch my video. It's not the case. It's like you actually have to earn that person's time. It's a very valuable asset. And so you need to let them know why they're about to spend this 20, 30, 60 seconds with you on this video. You need to hook them in. And essentially the way that we do it is you need to make them problem aware because like it's for the most part, it's educational content that we create for our contents and for our clients. And so a big part of that is making the person understand that they are facing a problem and the solution typically ends up being the client's offer, right? And so that's kind of the strategy that we play on. But that's really it. That's what I would say.
With like how short people's attention spans are now, how important do you think it is for like constant pattern disrupts? Like, for example, I follow this guy on Instagram. It's like Samuel Rivera Films. He'll take like, for example, like an Andy Frisella quote where he's like going in, he'll take the podcast and he'll just overlay just like 1,000 B-roll clips. Like it's constantly changing that's flowing with the story. And it's like, I watched the whole thing. Like you're just like waiting, like you're flowing through.
And it's like a 5-minute video.
It's a 5-minute video, but it's like you see like it's just constant like shot, and it keeps you just locked in. Like you like how do you have to put that in there to keep people like nowadays? You think or like we're
I definitely think you're not gonna see success, especially when you're starting out by just talking to the camera with no zoom in, zoom outs, pattern interrupts, B-roll, overlays, like flares. Like without those assets, I don't, you know, there's just too many people doing it correctly and understanding the power of the pattern interrupt for you to be successful not doing it. Right. But then there's people like Sam Sulek who invented like a whole different, you know, kind of woke the world up where it's like, hey, you know, nobody's actually just turning on the camera and just going about their day and kind of documenting.
But that was its own version of a pattern interrupt. Also,
true.
When people give me that,
very true.
When people talk to me about that, I go, Sam Sulek is not something that I look at as something to follow. Only reason being, Sam Sulek basically created a co-star, which is this idea of people imminently looking at him and being like, is he going to die? And like genuinely, like the way that he did everything, like he was doing uncommon things in a way that like almost didn't seem real. So the only way to tell that story is as basic as possible because otherwise people are going to be like, this is bullshit.
For sure. Yeah, no, I agree 1,000%. I would say in the beginning, you definitely want to take advantage of those pattern interrupts. I think once you have an established brand, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
Because at that point, like people know you, like, you know, when it comes to, it really depends on your goal. Do I want to nurture the audience that I currently have, or do I want to expand my audience and expand my reach? If your goal is to expand your reach, then you got to capture their attention in those first 3 seconds and also retain them throughout the edit because, you know, as you guys know, the most important metric is watch time, right? As soon as you have that first pool of people that are, the way the algorithm works is it shows your content to that first pool of people. If, let's say 80% of that pool of people watch 80% of the content, that's thumbs up. It's going to show it to a larger pool. And it's just a continuous cycle of that. And that's how videos go viral is, okay, let's show this to 100 people. If the majority of these people watch the majority of this content, the algorithms know that this content is good, it's shareable, and it's going to open it up to more people, right? And so you definitely want to be prioritizing that watch time, right? And that comes down to a crucial element, which is pattern interrupts.
So kind of to put a bow on this, I'd be interested for somebody that seems like they're doing all the right things. The show is called Piece of Grit. So back in the day, we would have people come up and be like, dude, you're such a piece of shit for whatever reason, we're doing something stupid, whatever it is. But what we realized, the commonalities between successful people is they all have a little piece of grit. So what to you does grit mean?
Yeah. Grit means to me, like, just being relentless, bro. Like, the desire to be relentless. Like, that's what grit means to me. It's like, you're either 100% in or you're not. It's like you don't miss your non-negotiables. You don't go and relax before the work gets done. You don't put things off just because of the way you're feeling. Like, it's like, I know that I'm destined and I have this ability. I have these God-given gifts, these talents, and I have a purpose here on this earth. I'm going to max out my characteristics, my talents, my skills. Mm-hmm. I'm going to max out my character in this life, in this game of life. Right?
Self-actualization.
Yeah. It's like, I think a lot of people fail to have grit because they don't know their purpose. They're kind of living life without purpose, and without purpose, you're susceptible to all the distractions in the world. You're going to be addicted to things like porn. You're not going to be healthy.
Yeah.
You're not going to eat right. You're not going to be hitting the gym. You're going to be playing video games a lot. Social media is going to be a distraction. Your phone, you're going to be hanging around the wrong people because you're kind of just like drifting in the wind, flowing. You don't have a set purpose to like dial in on. But once you do have that purpose and you understand where you come from, you understand why you're here on this earth, you understand, your gifts and your abilities. It's like, there's no time to be wasted. And there's no like, it's non-negotiable. Like, we're getting after it.
Either you fall for everything or you stand for something. Like, yep. I think that's genuinely what I've found to be the thing. I think people overanalyze what they get too in their head about what the purpose is. Like, they get too deep into it. Yeah. Where in the reality is the only way you find your purpose, if you haven't found it yet, like, we're lucky. We all know why we're here. Like, that's part of it. But if you don't know, the only way you find out is by doing a lot of shit and like just constantly finding something to stand for, something to stand up for, something to be courageous for, something to be, a little bit timid or scared of. Like, you gotta be willing to stand for something great and demand greatness from yourself to be able to actually produce that greatness in the world.
Absolutely. I think personally, the way to find purpose is by your faith, your relationship with God. I think that's truly the way to find purpose. Because otherwise you're going to think that you may have found your purpose in one thing. It could be a girl, it could be a job, a career. And if God is not involved, it won't sustain. Mm-hmm. And then you'll feel empty. Or even if it does go well, you'll still feel empty. And I've noticed that in my own life. Like, I'm talking through experience. Like, I thought it was the girls, the drugs, the parties. I had it all, bro. Like, I'm a good looking guy. Like, I've come from a very blessed family. Like, I've had everything that I could have ever asked for at such a young age, and still was like, the hell is this crap?
Yeah.
Like, it's not meaningful. And so the true purpose, I feel like, for all of us is the way that we impact others, right? Like, that's the real meaning of purpose. Like, how are we impacting others, right?
What vehicle do you do?
Yeah,
to impact others.
Exactly. And like, how is that going to impact even more people? Mm-hmm. It's like, people don't realize that, like, your one life, your actions, who you talk to, how you talk, what you do, how you do it, like those actions have the ability to impact and change the lives of thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions. And it's crazy because, you know, the difference between tapping into your purpose and not tapping into your purpose can be the difference between somebody literally going to heaven and going to hell. Like, true stuff. Like the difference between somebody having eternal life or falling victim to sin and rotting in hell, you know? And that's really the way I look at it.
I think it's so easy in today's day and age to make idols. Like you hear of stories of history of like these people idolizing something as simple as like a statue or these types of things. And in the Bible, it talks about the frustration that would cause God, because it's like you're worshiping these things that can't give the eternal love that I can give to you. It can't give you the purpose. It can't give you the direction. It can't teach you in the way that I can.
So good.
And being able to take a step back and go, what am I worshiping? What do I spend my time worshiping? So many people are like, well, I don't believe in anything. Well, I mean, based on your time, it seems like you believe that social media runs your life. Based on your time, it seems like, you know, you'd rather watch somebody else have sex than to go have sex yourself, man. Like, it's crazy. It's
so good, bro.
You
hit on the head.
You're worshiping watching people live versus actually living yourself, because you don't have that competitive advantage, which I believe a relationship with God creates. Which is this eternal piece of like, I am worthy. Like, I deserve love. I deserve peace. I deserve success even. So
good, bro.
I don't know if you see it out here, but lately I feel like there's a huge cultural shift back towards church, religion.
Oh yeah.
And it's nice to see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, bro. I've definitely, so I didn't grow up here, but as soon as I got here 2 years ago, I was outside, dog. I was like, oh, I'm going to Miami. Like, I'm about to act up. Like I already knew what Miami was about. Like I came here on vacation, April 22 spring break. I was like, bro, the amount of girls in this city is actually ridiculous. Like the amount of BBLs.
Crazy.
And I was like, yo, I'm about to wild out. And then like, bro, God just like put this woman in my life like the first month that I got here, settled down with her. She got me closer to God, and I wanted to get closer to God. It's funny because like it's crazy how he works. Like his timing is just ridiculous. You know, I started going to a church for the first time. I never really went to church consistently. I was going before I met her, and it turned out that we both were going to the same church. So we started going together. We started serving, and like my whole life changed, bro. Like all that stuff that I was like obsessed with, girls, and just right out the window. And like
something we've talked about, I'm curious if you felt the same thing, is like, so you just recently got back into it in the last couple of years, going to church and everything.
Correct.
When you first did you like, you walked in there, did you feel like I'm home? Like this is where I was supposed to be.
Oh yeah, right away.
And it's right a crazy feeling. Like it's like I've been missing this my whole fucking life.
Yeah, and you know when you're there and you start to get the goosebumps.
Yeah, bro. You're like,
you feel the Holy Spirit in you. Like you'll literally get the goosebumps, and you're like, why do I have? I'm not even cold.
Real.
Like what type of like you know once you get those goosebumps, and like bro, it's not even cold in here. Like there's literally a spirit in me because bro, like, at the end of the day, like we're not of this earth, bro. This is this is just temporary. We're just passing by. Like we are spirits, we're souls living in a human experience.
I think part of it is like the feeling empty when you're idolizing the wrong thing is like you eventually realize it's like, and no matter what you do, no matter how much money you make, no matter whatever the things you accumulate, everything you have, second you die, dude, you leave it here. Like you can't take anything with you anyways. And I feel like once you do make that money and you have that success and you get to those things, like for example, you get to Lambo, you drive nice cars, you live in a nice place, you get there and it's still empty. Yeah. Like it's like, this is what I worked for this whole time. It's like you get used to it. Like it gets old to you just like anything else does.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what doesn't get old is just always giving the glory back to God. Showing people that, you know, this wasn't me. This Lambo, this nice crib, the beautiful wife, the amazing lifestyle that you want so bad none of it is me. It's all God working through me. It's all his divine timing. Like that's what I don't think would ever get old. Like even where I'm at now, I don't have those things, but I still give everything that I have, and I give all that glory to God because it's not mine. It's really not. And when we die, it's all gonna get left here. Whereas like my heart is really set on the treasures of the kingdom and not here, because it is all temporary and it's irrelevant, really.
I think you stop, like once you find peace, you realize you don't need to chase happiness.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Come on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Jesus is that peace. Man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, for real.
I think that's a perfect spot to wrap this up.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on. How can people find you, and how can they support you?
Yeah,
where can
absolutely.
people find you?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram. I'm on all platforms, but Instagram is the main one. Aiden Snell, AIDENSNELL. Drop your boy a follow. I'm on there every day, providing value. And website is at snellproductions.com. So check us out too, and check out some of our work. I'm sure we'll definitely be working together in the future.
Hell yeah.
Dude, let's do this again too.
Yeah,
Talk
absolutely.
media, talk whatever.
I'm down for sure. I appreciate you guys for having me, and it's been a pleasure, man.
Dude, I really appreciated it. Thank you for coming on, man.
Absolutely.